Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Ahmad Safi Mustaqim bin Hamdan, and for today's podcast, we are going to talk about inflation and unemployment in Singapore. But before that, I'm going to talk about the economy of Singapore as our introduction. Singapore is a high-income economy with a gross national income of $70,810 per capita as of 2023. It is ranked among the world's most competitive economies and provides one of the world's most business-friendly regulatory environment for local entrepreneurs. Singapore rapidly developed from a low-income country to a high-income country after decades of independence. GDP growth in the city-state has been among the world's highest and at an average of about 7% since independence and topping 9.2% in the first 25 years. The overall growth of the Singapore economy was 1.1% in 2023. Construction led the growth in goods producing industries, driven by expansions in both public and private sector projects. Service industry registered broad-based growth, led by accommodation and information and communication on back of strong international visitor arrivals and robust demand for data hosting services respectively. That's all for introduction. So now, let's invite our guests. They are students of accounting from UiTM Melaka to talk about inflation and unemployment.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and here is my friend Ilham. We will talk about Singapore inflation. Inflation refers to the general increases in price of goods and services in an economy over a period, typically resulting in a decrease in purchasing power of a currency. When inflation occurs, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services than it did before. Inflation can be caused by various factors such as increased production costs, higher demand relative to supply, changes in government policies like printing more money, or external factors like international events affecting supply chains or commodity prices like pandemic COVID-19 and war. There are three types of inflation. First is demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when aggregate demand in an economy outpaces aggregate supply, leading to increased price. Secondly, cost push inflation. Cost push inflation happens when production costs rise, causing to producers to pass those costs on to consumers in the form of higher price. Thirdly, built-in inflation. Built-in inflation is also known as wage price inflation. This occurs when workers demand higher wages to keep up with rising prices, leading to a cycle of wage increases and further price hikes. Inflation can have several effects on individuals, businesses, and the overall economy, such as first, reduce purchasing power. As prices rise, the purchasing power of money decreases. This means that each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services than it did previously. As a result, consumers may feel poorer because their income doesn't stretch as far. Secondly, impact on fixed incomes. People on fixed incomes, such as retirees living off pensions or savings, can be particularly vulnerable to inflation. Their income remains the same, but the cost of living increases, potentially reducing their standards of living. Third, higher cost of borrowing. Inflation can lead to higher interest rates as lenders seek to maintain real returns adjusted for inflation. This makes borrowing more expensive for businesses and consumers, which can slow down economic growth. 4. Uncertainty and planning challenges. High or unpredictable inflation rates can create uncertainty for businesses, making it difficult for them to plan for the future. This uncertainty can deter investment and economic growth. Fifth, redistribution of income and wealth. Inflation can redistribute income and wealth within an economy. Debtors who owe fixed amount benefit from inflation because they repay their debts with money that is worth less. Creditors, on the other hand, lose purchasing power on the money they are repaid.
Every problem has a solution, right? No worries. There are also solutions to overcome inflation. Since every nation has a leader, which is the government, they are in charge of solving inflation's problems. The government can help to overcome inflation by creating a policy. There are two types of policy, which are contractionary monetary policy and contractionary fiscal policy. Here, contractionary monetary policy means that central bank can reduce the money supply through different monetary instruments. As a result, the bank will limit economic growth. For example, open market operations. The bank will reduce its deposit and credit creation of commercial bank to control inflation. Thus, it will reduce the aggregate demand and price level. Next, contractionary fiscal policy. The government can implement a budget surplus to reduce inflation. The government can decrease its expenditure by postponing some development projects. Moreover, the government can increase the tax as it can decrease the purchasing powers of consumers. However, the rate of taxes should not be too high as it will discourage saving, investment and production. If inflation is due to an increase of production, direct control measures can be used to control inflation. For instance, the government needs to make sure that the increase in wages should be linked to increase in productivity. This is because it can be need to control the wage push inflation and cost of production. For Singapore, the inflation rate from 2013 is 2.36%. After a year, the inflation rate shows 1.03%, which down by 1.33% from 2013. From 2015 until 2021, the range of the rates shows from negative 0.52% to 2.30%. This shows that Singapore success to manage the inflation of its country. However, in 2022, the rate increased to 6.12%. It is because of epidemic of COVID-19 that occurs affect the economy globally.
Hi, my name is Nasrul, and here is my friend Khairul. We will talk about unemployment in Singapore. First of all, what is unemployment? Unemployment is a condition where individuals who are willing and able to work but unable to find a suitable jobs. It is decided that unemployment was a key to measure the health of the economy. Unemployment can be measured by unemployment rate by dividing the number of unemployed people by the number of people in the labor force. The unemployment rate in Singapore in first quarter of 2024 is 2.1%. This means that out of every 100 people in the labor, only 2 are unemployed. But what was the issue of unemployment in Singapore?
In my research, there are 3 issues of unemployment in Singapore. For the first issue, about rapidly aging population. In Singapore, people are getting older on average. This implies decrease the number of young people joining the labor, and it is mean many of older people are still working. Second, the tighter regulations of foreign work. Measures to control the entry of foreign laborers were tightened. Consequently, obtaining a S-Pass or work permit became increasingly challenging for foreign employees. Locals must be given preference when recruiting in Singapore, according to a law that was also introduced by the government. And the last issue is mismatched skills. The most in-demand abilities on the job market are typically not the most prevalent, creating a divide between potential employees and companies. To close this disparity, upskilling initiatives have been started. Can you identify types of unemployment in Singapore? Nasrul?
If you want to know, in the Singapore's economy, there are 3 types of unemployment that may arise involving structural, cyclical, and frictional unemployment. First of all, structural unemployment is one of the main causes of unemployment in Singapore. This could be attributed to labor mismatch. It means that while there are significant job vacancy, the unemployed are unable to fill them because they do not meet the skill requirements of the new jobs. The danger of labor mismatch has increased in recent years due to the fast pace of technological changes. In Singapore, production workers, service workers, and lower educated workers have problem meeting the skill requirement needed. In addition, cyclical unemployment is also a major cause of unemployment in Singapore. It happens when there is changes in business conditions. In particular, when the economy is in a recession, consumer demands will fall. With this, firms will experience difficulties to sell all their current output. As a result, they cut back production and subsequently reduce the number of units of labor to cut their costs. Furthermore, frictional unemployment is also a cause of unemployment in Singapore. This type of unemployment is associated with the continuous flow of individuals from job to job or in and out of employment. This refers to school leavers and fresh graduates. It happens because there normally takes time for them to find matches with suitable jobs that suit themselves. Hence, what is the effect of unemployment in Singapore?
Alright, as you know, in every country there is must-have effects of unemployment, which is in economic level, individual and social. First and foremost, economic level. Economic development and progress might be impeded by high employment rates. The demand for products and services as a whole is directly impacted by a decline in consumer expenditure when a sizable section of the population is unemployed. A slowdown in company activity and lower output levels may result from this decline in demand. Next, for individual, significant personal consequences can arise from unemployment, such as financial hardship due to the loss of income, stress and anxiety. Long-term career challenge can also arise from unemployment as people encounter difficulties in finding new employment opportunities and retaining their professional abilities. Last but not least, social. Social problems like rise in crime rates can be exacerbated by unemployment. Some unemployed people may turn to criminal activity in order to survive under dire economic circumstances.
Thank you to all our four guests for sharing their knowledge and expertise regarding our discussion today. That's all for today's episode, and stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you for watching. Bye.